Welcome to the lovely IHP community and the 5D collective. We are going to have finally our food for thought channeled guidance from the lovely in progress cards that those of you who are regular viewers and listeners will have heard about at some point. I forget what date, but if you're new, we are a collective of people, mystic, spiritual, mindful, who live in love with our securely attached, non-traumatized body, brain, mind, self, and so we are higher self-led, and we love to create resiliency in restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating lives and lovers. And so with that, we don't need Patrick Tihan or Terriel, and when people who don't like our self-confidence act like their teenage version, we get to practice, I'm an Akashic Record reader, the physical mastery. So Maria gets to keep being all of her higher self with all her child parts and master more of bringing forth the anchored ventral energy. And in my relational field, I get to stay in the present now, curious, open, accepting, and loving. The other person does whatever they want with their nervous system and in their left mode. And I, in the meantime, remind myself, thank you, God, for being that which I know is discerning, equanimous love, as I will have written and shared. We've talked about it, but also the chapter in the book that I have made a little bit of an announcement, which I'm going to for a minute. So I have the honor and pleasure of announcing the upcoming publishing of the book, The Ways to God, a Spiritual Mosaic, Discovering God Through Many Perspectives. I'm a co-author alongside another 8 amazing spiritual authors. The link where you can pre-order the book if you want is on YouTube and Instagram. YouTube, it's the community page, and the book's release date is June 28th. So we share our personal experiences and relationship with God, the divine, alongside our diverse religious and spiritual backgrounds. We're open to all perspectives. There's no judgment, no agenda. And we welcome, of course, the infinite ways that God, the divine, reveals itself to us as individuals who are spiritual and growing our spirituality lives and mystical lives. My chapter is defined, titled, God is Discerning Equanimous Love. Discerning, wise and good judgment, that which a higher self has. Equanimous, common-centered, that which your ventral energy and your ventral vagal state have. And that's because you're using a prefrontal cortex with the left, the chit-chatter that comes online 2 years of age, and the right, which is online from the get-go and sits with unknown in our mindfulness practices, with our mindset skills expanding, and with the inner growth mindset and you being yourself. Mindfully flawed with integrity. Imperfections consistently, but they're not imperfections to us. So when you are with those who are empowered, you're going to have a good time, and they're going to have the stamina of this lovely horse. And that's because we also accept all, reject none and nothing, and we know what the truth is. So the truth for those of us who are grounded in reality is that any of our cherishable beliefs or opinions are falsifiable, and we love sciences and spirituality coming together. That's why I'm the pseudoscience woo-woo lady with stories, topics, and perspectives. Okay, and with that, channeled guidance, food for thought. So higher self-led people, we are independent, and that's because, again, we're securely attached, non-traumatized, thanks to metabolizing. That means that you can think through emotions, neutrality and duality, and you like the word neutrality because, again, confidence means equanimity. And that is why no scary monster in the sky, no scary monster in hell. Nope, there's no Lucifer or demon to be blamed for that which is shame, blame, fault, revenge, and childhood and or more trauma that those who don't want to heal with Patrick Tihan or Terriel to love their self first will continue to bring forth, but our laws will protect us, and we will continue to expand, bringing human, spirituality elements together to explore human evolution, consciousness, and you being yourself. Again, it's for real, not pretend. So the people who will be here are all going to be discerning, equanimous, and we love to talk politics, religion, you name it. It don't matter if you're on one side of politics or the other. We don't have insecure individuals. We have self-aware, accountable, regulating individuals. That means that there's no sensitivity to, how dare you take that side? It's actively dumbing us down by the minute. Anytime I see it, groups and trends are for the teenagers who follow Peter Pan, Wendy, and they need a group to belong to, and that's why they like to pat each other in the back, cheer each other on, and sound like what is really, I'm being called to talk about this. So, the horse brings forth the wisdom of the mouse. Let me share with you some of the cards. And the owl. That way you can see. It's been waiting to be shared. Okay, so the horse brings forth the wisdom of the mouse. which came in another reading, if you remember, channeled guidance, through, and the owl, wisdom of the mouse and the owl, through the form of the bear. Anybody remember Brother Bear? And cozy bears, and we choose the man, not the bear, although the bear is cute, but I don't know enough about bear in nature. But the bear is of its herd, and the form of the bear that has the qualities of the sea serpent. The sea serpent is about emotion and unconditional love, like the mother, so the feminine. Feminine is a nurturer. I'm an empowered feminine. The masculine is a nurturer, but he's a nurturer by protecting. The two come together, and when you're an empowered feminine, you're also an empowered masculine. The body is my empowered feminine, open gut, open heart, because it's a good, healthy self-worth gut that knows when I have healthy self-worth, men, women, and theys around me, mystic, spiritual, or mindfully living, loving, or not. And I don't play the card of Cusco. I'm Pacha. Pacha is an equanimous, again, calm-centered, because of being anchored in ventral energy person, discerning, because using prefrontal means that I have wise, good judgment, because my likes and dislikes don't rule me, because my 14-month-old is not ruling me. I'm the individual who's a grown-up version of me, is how I use the word. Today, it's known as the higher self. I will make sure you understand grown-up version, because words are not the active way that you're going to know if you're higher self. It's if you have any kind of venom in your tooth, you're not a higher self yet. If you're able to notice, if my heart was broken, meaning it got sad, it will take me some time to process that which will have happened. I do not have enemies in the world, and I do not have, people who stand behind me. I do not need heroes. I do not need villains. I'm not a story. I'm not objectifying and dehumanizing my life. I am a discerning, equanimous, loving individual. Thank you, God, for teaching me that imprint, the energetic imprint, but it's really my catechist from my Christian Catholic upbringing and my mother and my own embodiment in interacting with that which has taken place around me. As Stephen Porges points out, it's not the words. In our second year of life, the thoughts come up. It's how we will perceive from our nervous system life. So every sensation, image, affect, behavior, and meaning. Okay, so the horse brings from the wisdom of the mouse, and the owl brings forth. And that's because you're anchored in a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating you. That's how I'm bringing it. Okay, I'm connecting the human elements with the spiritual and spirituality elements. I don't do let me read to you without giving you what it is from being yourself perspective. Transformational experiences have gifted you and continue to gift you the wisdom of the owl that gave you the eyes of the tiger and the resilience of the camel with the camel's humpback reserve. Again, remember, this one is tying to a previous one. You have grown the ability to appreciate the slow and steady ways of the turtle and how it rides the waves of life's currents. That is the amazing capacity of a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating human being. Thanks to mindfulness practices, you focus that attention here. You're in the state of awareness with darkness not keeping you in any kind of okay, and that's because your child parts are asleep. Then you have kind intention, and these are all integrated from Dr. Daniel Siegel's courses, trauma educational courses, more names than I will ever be able to remember. Okay, so humanly speaking, the inner growth mindset in the absence of the body's information is straightforward. Thoughts, emotions, neutrality, and duality. Now I know also the body is accompanying this, otherwise you're not going to do self-help, personal development, whether spiritual or personal, and both really are one and the same. But some of you I know are atheists and not spiritual. Others, you are spiritual, and with mysticism or not, you can understand how to expand the self. So decentralizing of the self are the same experiences as spiritual expansion events and experiences. That's because science doesn't disprove spirituality experiences for us. Spirituality doesn't disprove sciences and their explanations, and they're not in competition. Integrated brains know that. That's why we're grounded in reality. Again, our cherishable beliefs and opinions are not something we are needing to prove. Discerning mind knows how information is accumulated, made, and there's not a story in any way, shape, or form that will ever trump, meaning be more important than data, because you're going to know the difference. I know the difference. I have biases, preferences too. I try to keep them right here. Meaning, when I'm talking about being yourself, I can tell you all of that which comes from a mouth of a person who has self-agency, no self-doubt. When I get people who don't like that I have no self-doubt, I know what they feel. And try not to pay too much attention because it's none of my business. I have confidence, like I told my teenage friends, and I don't see why I should bow down in shame. Confidence is a good thing. Learn how to have self-acceptance, and then learn to be a functional child adult and see having fun with people who are that too. Because the pure essence of vulnerability is beautiful to experience, and you will only experience it with people who are grown-up versions of themselves, the higher self people. So, the lovely turtle, and give me just 1 second as something popped up into my screen. There we go. So, the turtle, slow and steady wins the race. Okay, you've grown the ability to appreciate the slow and steady ways of the turtle and how it rides the waves of life's currents. You are both protected and propelled by your turtle's shell, and like the turtle, you navigate the ocean's calm and brutal currents with ease. That's because your emotions and thoughts are experienced in a body, empowered feminine, mind, empowered masculine, integrated brain, masculine, feminine, left and right, default mode network downregulated. I'm not scanning self and others to be Maria. I don't need my mom's approval, my twins, my younger sisters. Those are my primary mammalian heritage caregivers and that I grew up with, the nuclei. Then it's extended. So somebody telling me they don't like me, I can handle that like a functional child adult, and that's because that's what self-confidence means, and it means that they won't like it if they don't know how to be confident too. But it's okay because they won't do anything about it, because healthy self-worth empowered people, enlightening and mystics and spiritual and mindful, will say, I can explain myself. If you want to hear it and you don't have to then. Okay, so we experience the body and mind with our ventral vagal state, and therefore we are in our prefrontal cortex, and if we are charged, we know how to talk about those charges. As functional child adults, we as the 5D collective ride the state of Christ consciousness. That's what 5D stands for. It's why I will consistently use it. Doesn't mean you don't travel the other dimensions, but the way that the 4D collective talks about this stuff has people not embodying all of their depth, is how I'm going to put it. So I'm going to leave it alone. So the 5D collective, state of Christ consciousness, and love frequency, we ride it because we choose to live our life anchored in this ventral energy as ourselves. The ventral vagal state is a resource that every person has, but only you can choose it with self-help, spiritual and or mindful, again, and or both, really, because you're a person. So when someone says, I did it, they've chosen, like the Zen master. And when somebody thinks it's not possible, that means that their body still has a hard time with affect. So they need to still go to Janina Fisher and or Pat Ogden and or Bezel van der Kolk and work on that window of tolerance to affect. So they don't know how to handle the stuff that's coming up and choose to anchor in ventral vagal and prefrontal. And they might not want to. They might want the definition like the Zen master. No, Maria, life is suffering. How dare you pretend? I'm not pretending. I can be vulnerable without that. People who are childish, they're not childish because a child is never going to whine because they want something out of spite. No, a child is defenseless and helpless. I don't feel defensive or helpless because I got a mother who allowed me to be all the little clinginess I was and explained to me. As she allowed me to be vulnerable, and as I allowed myself to be vulnerable, and as I didn't learn shame from it with the little 11-year-olds that were assholes around me, I just learned, why are you faking that you are not? You're just like me. And then I sat with it and said, okay, well, I'm not going to hide vulnerability away. It's silly. It's right here. Okay, so I had a recent hypnotherapy session. I'm sharing some of that. So the essence of pure vulnerability, amazing, might I add, definitely amazing. And that's because vulnerable to a person who's not afraid of it. It's because humanly speaking, God made every human out there and life. So they're all part of the plan. I didn't lose faith in humanity. Jesus, human, and he walked a walk and talked a talk. My one guide, my one and only, alongside Holy Spirit and God. And then I expanded to mystic, where I knew I would not be welcomed by all, but where I knew exactly where my heart is. And again, the kingdom of God is within you, yes. When you're a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person who chooses to anchor in your ventral energy. You don't have to. In fact, the split is clear. The ones who will be, you're not manipulated. You don't like the information that's presented to you. You choose to want to believe that which you want. I don't do Maria be stupid because I got taught what well-being is and how healthy works and how information and knowledge works. And God never said, be ignorant, my child, and stay in the caves. No, none of that. So whenever I'm hearing a fear-mongering human being from the medieval times talk to me about promiscuity and vows and integrity, and I got monogamous men telling me they've confessed to loving other people before getting married, I'm going to say that definitely requires no marriage, therapy, or something going on before, and no suppression of anything. Like, can we stop using taboo language? In the year 2025 with the ones who think they're smart. If you're smart, then you know how to talk. This is my one thought of grown-ups is that you're not supposed to be like, I could be that if I even here I'm not. Meaning, I remember in 5th grade and 6th grade, or one of the two, we got sex ed and we were all hee, giggling. And then I got to my college courses, and that's where I learned about sociology, very good courses, gender and language, important ones. And I started meeting sensitive egos there. And then I got to my other courses, and when I did learn the technical verbiage and a lot more of good information from sex therapists and nervous systems and all that, I'm like, okay, I love it, you guys. You're explaining a lot of things that people will never understand, that do not have securely attached, non-traumatized bodies, because they won't ever understand how to be their own safe haven, secure base. So I know how to be. I'm who I am. I accept that you might not like me, and if you don't, it doesn't make me want to change myself. Grease, who's doing that? As a teen, and I'm like, yuck, what the you supposed to love all of this. I am a cockroach and my mother still loves me, so I don't understand. There's no sacrifice in love. Nope. No ball and chain, nope. And if you're bored of me, well, then we can talk about it, but I don't understand. That must mean that I and you are not meant to be, because boredom indicates your amygdala just got uninterested. So intellectually, I'm not interesting. We can talk about that, but intellect's not the only thing. Emotionally, I'm supposed to also be able to, this is not magic. It's a bit of magic, and it's also not in the absence of there being a special bond. As a mystic, all my bonds are special. I have past lives with all of them. I love sharing about my future husband and how he came to be to those who are mystics like me. In fact, I have my soul sister. I have to catch her up on some stuff. Okay, so continuing on. Slow and steady wins the race. Oh, and you build true relationships by being securely attached with those people. Safe haven, secure base. So they expand you. I expand you. That's why our amygdala won't ever be like, I don't want. No, it'll be okay. Let's see. Intellect, check. Emotion, check. Physical, check. That's actually the first thing. That's top notch. Otherwise, there's not going to be. It's going to be, So that's not unrequited love. It's actively one of the two people not being attracted physically. It can happen. It's not something personal. If you understand that it's not defective. I was rejected at the age of 4, though. I've had lots of practice. I was disowned at the age of 8. Again, practice. I got broken up with by my first love. Practice again. And I did say the grown-ups are wrong. I don't love him more than everybody. I love him the same like I love everybody else. And they still don't believe me. And oh, thank goodness. Eric Fromm. Tell them. The first man that knows love the way I do, besides God, obviously, which is discerning, and equanimous in love, because otherwise they're not loving at all. And yes, we have met those, and I thank attachment trauma educators for letting me know what people who are pause selves are. So with that being said, the 5D collective, again, we choose to be securely attached, non-traumatized in the body, right here, empowered feminine. In the mind, that's because it's an integrated brain, 2 sides of story. We do not do take my side, take your no. That's an adaptive child who needs terrestrial to get out of unbridled self-expression, right or wrong. They're offline anyways. So they don't need me. They need to learn how to be slow and steady with that prefrontal. Pause yourself. Get out of the charge. Let's get that higher self back online. And what is the deal? What exile? Who is it? Let's talk. What is it protecting you from? Because it came up for a reason. So we don't suppress or hide anything. I'm cool with vulnerability because, again, I didn't hide it at my 11 years of age. So whenever it comes up, and then I'm able to handle it. If I got Cusco, I handle it like a Pacha. If I got Pacha, that's awesome. So the securely attached, again, non-traumatized in the body, mind, integrated brain, heart. It's an open heart with, for me, Holy Spirit, Jesus, God, and more. Akash, source, universe, intelligence, consciousness. Pure consciousness is unconditional love, Purusha Prakriti. You don't have to do yoga, but every single one of those spirituality ancestors talks about what you can feel inside when you're anchored in your ventral energy and using your higher self, because that's the state of grace and blissfulness that restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, living and loving people, mystics, spiritual or not, feel. And that's where I can't prove it to you because I'm in my body. It's not wine, Sadhguru, but I love you for being out there and helping every person to be able to use yoga, mindfulness, meditation to get their ventral vagal state. The ventral vagal is toning thanks to yoga, mindfulness, meditation, help integration of brain. It's a process though. So it'll take time, but again, so securely attached, non-traumatized body, mind, heart, self. That's because you can self-regulate by yourself without another person. And even if you're in the presence of somebody who is low self-esteem, indirect communicating, insecure, and with some shit going on, you're like, hey, Kuska, what's up? And that's actually how it works. You grow more fun. Krishna Lila, come on in. Shiva, Kali were already there, and Krishna Lila is my actual ventral vagal state because it explores the depths of the profound with fun, curiosity, and really, it's not personal ever. Pat Ogden shares with us, the body has a hard time metabolizing, and when it doesn't, we got trauma time on a wheel, so when I meet karma and fate, the self-fulfilling prophecy, it's like my facade friend. They just talk over you, so I just allow myself to hear what they got to say, and then I get to go, and I'm excused without one hitch. And that's nice because they are a soul and a spirit like me, so they're also unconditional love. But their charged parts are what live through them, so is their mask and their identity. And again, that's who they decide to be. So when you say, when did you learn how to be this way? Then I didn't learn, this is who I am. Okay, your identity is all over it, Cusco, but cool, that's cool. So we don't choose that. We choose, again, body, mind, heart, self, whole, harmony with our soul spirit, pure love. And that's what comes through thanks to self-awareness and accountability with mindfulness practices and an inner growth mindset and mindset skills that we further develop over time. That's the physical mastery. I'm in it right now. It's really fun. Those of us who are mystics and spiritual beings bring together science and spirituality without being confused. That's the beauty of having an integrated brain. The left comes online at 2 and it's linear and black and white thinking. The right is what everything that comes up from here and it sits in darkness and the unknown. And it's a consilience or it's a analogo, I forgot the word, but basically can take everything. So from the ground, it doesn't need it to be linear. It can touch, it can do a bunch of stuff. It's the rainbow and the sunshine, while the black and white, but it all comes together, and that's why empowered feminines and empowered masculines make a powerful, empowered team, not like the little power couples who are codependent and basically it's hard, they perform for love. Wow. I mean, that makes me think of something else. Rigidity, unforgiveness, harshness. Again, remember, people who have their visceral in the lead think that it's dangerous to have no emotions, and that's what they think when they meet those of us, like my teenage friends who have what they say, no emotions. It's ridiculous. You cannot physically live in the absence of emotions. I just don't do vulnerability like a drama king or queen, because I use my resource, the ventral vagal state. Why would I use my dumbed down version? I don't have one. I have a higher self, which is why teenagers didn't like to be around. No, that's not true. I chose my herd based on me saying nope, 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 nope. Maybe means no. Yes, yes, yes. And I didn't point my mother taught me was bad manners. You're a snob. No, I just chose based on responsibility, intellectually stimulating, kind, compassionate, loving. Means you know how to make the best use of the 24 hours of your day and not waste my time or your time. Commitment, check. Vows, okay. We will learn about how that works for each person. Yes, actually, excuse me. What am I saying? As an empowered person, yes, there are those who are empowered who knows, they know vows and integrity. It has nothing to do with monoamory, monogamy, or religion at all. No, in fact, again, it has everything to do with the human being in front of me, man, woman, or they be. They will be that which is discerning, quantumous, and loving if they do know how to be in their higher self. And so those of faith and those of spirit do know. We see how all religions, faith, and our spiritual ancestors carried the same messages of the kindness and the firm kindness too. Okay, that's where discernment and equanimity, love come in. That's why it's still unconditional, but it's not let me pat you on the back. Okay, also it's the same as a third attuning, repairing ruptures. That's what the ideal parenting style for a person to get to securely attached type version of their self and whole self. So it's shown what those messages of our ancestors carried. Again, the wisdom of kindness, love, and human potential that lies within every person. People of science are also showing, those of atheists, no belief system, how every single one of us, of faith or not, can again have this, which is a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating life. So the spirituality of mystics, spiritual and more words than just some. Don't say, we need to prove spirituality. It's Luciferian era, because we have different groups coming together talking about different ways that they experienced expansion. They have their relationship to God, the divine. I use all the words, and they do mean different things for different times, but really it's up to you to choose your thing. I'm choosing mine. So God is experienced as discerning, equanimous, uncontrolled love, as a spirit, source, akash, intelligence, and consciousness, or if you want, you could call it dark matter, dark energy. But realistically speaking, it's fun to learn things and to bring it all together. I love the consilience approach. I love multi-diverse conversations, and how science and spirituality show that the infinite higher human consciousness potential is accessible. Again, there's work for those who have trauma charges, big ones stored in muscles, bones, and tissues, and I'm going to put that to the side. That's exactly why let us bow down in thanks and gratitude to our brothers and sisters of the frequency of fear, of shame, of blame, of fault, of revenge. I do not bow down because I want them to perpetuate trauma. No, I understand the level of depth that trauma charges are, because I've experienced a little sliver of it, and I can only imagine if there's a big buttload of it. And I said imagine, but I'm not a self that had in any way, shape, or form ever shame, no brokenness, no defectiveness. There's a self agent in front of you. So I have no idea what it's like to feel vulnerable with helplessness or weakness, or like I'm afraid of it. Now, vulnerable means I'm sensitive, but I'm not sensitive because it's not personal. It means I'm human. That's what vulnerable in its pure essence for a self-agent of a 0137, again, a child who didn't lose any child parts, who didn't hide any parts. So I come as Maria, take me as I am, God. God already did. That's exactly why I don't have beef with people. And today I can explain to you how it's really unimpressive to be around any insecure. If it's a woman, a man, they automatically have to shut it down. Shut what down? Who I am, because they're so sensitive that you can't have what would be to me an intellectually, emotionally, mentally, physically interesting interaction, because I just met your child part and you're not tending to it. So now I have a baby in the room. That's it. I'm not even gonna, this is where I can share with you what it feels like to be in the room with them. I'm not gonna do anything the minute I'm there, and nobody will tell any different, because as an empowered feminine, I'm automatically a nurturer. It just kicks in. That's it. And also because I don't need to show my 3-year-old. She's great. And she doesn't want to come out and play because she's around people who don't want to play. They have half a self, pause self. They haven't even tended to their 3-year-old yet. I don't even know what's going to come out of that 3-year-old. And really, I'm thinking as a grown-up, I want to have an interesting intellectual, emotional conversation, not one where I need to play to your ego's weaknesses. No. That actually is not nice. Now I'm pretending, and then it would be insulting because I'm actually needing to and wanting to leave the room, and my mother taught me, you didn't tell me you didn't like him, that's not nice. She taught me how not to say anything if it wasn't nice. And so it's like a shit. So again, you learn how to become a grown-up when you're a child in a child-centric environment to share the floor. 5D collective of mystic, spiritual, and mindfully, again, living and loving people. We accept all and reject none. Like Anima Mundi, truths are bountiful, but we do like the, when you're grounded in reality, you know that anything that comes out of your mouth and anything that you believe in can be falsifiable, and then you know where the data's at. So you don't go thinking that anything will be disproven just because we have a bunch more voices. Nobody gets confused about what we've learned from yesterday to what we can learn of new for tomorrow. We do not judge, we do not cast the stones. Again, we accept all and reject nothing, and we do understand as we move forward what is going on. So we love to use flexible, not rigid or closed-mindedness in our thoughts and emotional evaluations. Flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable, and so we expand. We don't stay charged or use paused, self-dysregulated, and modulated embodiment manners, mindset, or behaviors within ourselves. That's why the inner critic, outer critic don't go nowhere, because people are like this with themselves, so they are scolding themselves and shaming and blaming and faulting, and so they don't do any expansion. We don't do any of that. We know how to be discerning. Again, that's wise, good judgment, and that's because we love learning, but that's because we are in the state of love. So with the kind intention, grounded in the awareness of ourselves, in the prefrontal cortex, focusing attention, that mindful awareness with mindset skills. Sensations, images, affects, behaviors, meanings. I'm Maria with my higher self, not exiles, not parts, and I'm not needing you to baby me. I'm self-regulating on my own, which is why I'm a secure attachment, non-traumatized whole self. So you are here when you're ready for self-help, spiritual or mindful, either and or all, and really all is going to be a part of it. If you're not of faith, then you'll just say not spiritual. But as Dr. Daniel Siegel got called to Spirituality Conference because he lives a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. That means he cares about his human herd like we all do when we are able to be egos, minds that are abundant. That's empowered, feminines, and masculines. So we create herd value consistently with our own weaknesses and strengths. We know we complement and we support each other to expand. That's why the empowered couples don't play like little superhero couples. And they're really little. When you meet them, we want to help people. I'm laughing because they're very tiny energy. I can perceive their 16-year-old, and as they prance around, I do think of my 16-year-old version. And one of the songs I liked of Bon Jovi. Anyways, we know how to be, again, discerning because we love learning, expanding, and are accepting of differences as functional child adults. So we don't find secure attachment boring at all. We actually don't find being mystic, spiritual, and science together boring at all because there's no way you can be bored with all those books out there and all this stuff that's going on. Also, we have entrepreneurial minds. So that's the other part. Creators have minds that are like, okay, what is the deal today? Let's look at it from all angles, and it's going to be fun. We're mindfully aware again of the personal journey that spiritual growth, spirituality, and faith are, as well as the path to becoming yourself through personal development and the choice of bringing forth mindfulness practices in your day-to-day mindset skills and an inner growth mindset and lifestyle approach. It is with great enthusiasm that we master the state of equanimity from within and the ability to use our ventral vagal state, which brings us the horse's stamina in everyday life, events, and relationships. As Dr. Daniel Siegel presents, when you have an integrated brain, you will be invigorated and energized because your default mode network is downregulated. You're not scanning self and others to see if you need any approval. So you're not doing something that would be considered distressful, tiresome, because again, you're ruling from here. And therefore invigorated, energized, and what your body was seeking to acquire in the first place, mind never left it, or even if it did, it was easily acquiring it by the time I'm an adolescent. Okay, so I didn't build trauma charges. I processed all my child parts. And that's what you continue to do. And it's with a higher self and with a prefrontal cortex online that all of those tools in my toolkit, Reiki, Akashic Records, Tarot, okay, for our spiritual retreats and workshops in the future, or anybody who does one-to-one mindfulness and mindsight and mindset practices, mentoring. Yes, it's when you are a person who has healed and or taken seriously the capacity to know to have a window of welcome, because that masterclass that I'm with signups, once we have the number, it'll roll out. You learn to navigate your nervous system, but what I've seen with my eyes is people who are spiritual bypassers, people who are egoic, people who are not their higher self but are pause self think they know how to conduct their nervous system, and they don't. They're actively, consistently, either clinically dissociating, scanning self and others, and refusing to look at how their body consistently holds in spaces that they're not metabolizing. So again, it's not my responsibility because I'm not their therapist and they don't want one. I'm sharing with you all that an eye and two of an integrated brain will notice, okay, I got Cusco in the room. Wow, pseudo alive, clinical dissociation. Right now, it's really looking like El Dorado is in a room. I'm a mystic too, but I don't experience any of this that way because my brain doesn't have the fear receptor going wonky. It works really great, and that's because I have my higher self in the lead with my ventral vagal state. So I have a window welcome to affect emotion sensations. My panic attacks, I've never been offline. So the offline, I've seen it, but I don't do offline. My Kundalini awakenings, but I didn't go offline. It just seemed like I was going to black out, which it was a safe environment, so it was okay. And I'm not even going to go there. When we have our tiers and or our retreats, we can talk about mystic experiences. I'll be very happy to share with those of you who are of our 5D collective, but let's avoid creating stereotypes, generalizations, and the stories of you lose people when you expand, because that's like where those 4D collective, I thought they would move out of. But I know what identity needs. They need a group like the Flat Earthers. So again, back to us. It is with great enthusiasm that we master the state of equanimity from within and the ability to use our ventral vagal state, which brings us to the, again, horses, stamina in everyday life, events and relationships. That's the secure attachment, not boring. Okay, so we're harnessing the power of our ventral vagal state and the integrated brain, and this can be described as a consistent, re-energizing, blissful day-to-day state, and it is our body, mind, heart, self, and alongside the soul spirit potential together. Obviously, we all know soul spirit is the unconditional love frequency, but for you to harness it, your body is going to need to be able to, with you gathering that mastery, stay within the prefrontal and anchoring in that ventral vagal state. So any emotion that has a charge, you're with your desire, not laundry, saying, okay, let me look at it. Neutrality and duality. That's why the advanced inner growth mindset program is advanced. I don't like beginners, intermediate, advanced, because people think it's levels. But you will only master your own neutrality and duality if you master being your self-agent in neutrality, duality. Okay, so with the turtle's ways of navigating the ocean blue, we are joined by the family of the whales, and together we expand to nurture our emotions and master our mental planes with mindfulness practices. We smoothly navigate forms of thought and sensations from within. We expand our window of welcome to emotions, sensations, and affect, all that arises from the body and through the mind in our prefrontal cortex. The turtle's hard shell is like your body and mind in harmony with the whole self, and you having the ability to self-regulate in your ventral vagal state in the absence of others, a higher self-led, secure attachment, non-traumatized person. Your physical life is energized and invigorated as you soar the skies like a hawk and walk the earth's plane like an elk. An elk who swivels into fun places and situations like an otter with the tentacles of an octopus. An octopus who brings forth the transformative skills of the moth that can see beyond every dark horizon and find the silver lining in all that crosses its path. We're not done yet. Sit down, relax, sit, don't do it, no, do it. I'm halfway through that, so enjoy. Again, we won't be having that many episodes, so you could split it up in days if you want. Okay, as truths from the silver linings of your life come forth like a starfish, you gaze out into the darkness of the deep blue ocean and the sky, and like a nightingale, you choose to sing your life's song and story into existence. The melodies and odes that come forth are both soothing and beautiful, as well as melancholy and sorrowful. All gather around like a circle of fiery ants that then spread like wildfire tarantulas in an open desert, carrying your life songs and adventures to others who will enjoy them. In being yourself with an integrated brain, you are like the phases of the moon and consistently expand yourself and consciousness. And that's personal to every person. Your mind holds thoughts and emotions softly, and you make your way through the ocean's tides, currents, and waves with the swiftness of a fish who knows the waters like the back of their hand. On the back of the turtle, you continue to ride. Alongside the whale, you navigate the depths of the seas, further exploring your healthy mind's silence with thoughts and emotions. And the depths of darkness where there are no words or sounds, no light or fear. That's from that right side of our brain. That's why, as Dr. Daniel Siegel presents, it's very important for people to have the capacity to sit in that right mode. And it takes practice if you need that, first with the good therapist, EMDR, child parts work somatics. Once all your child parts are in charge and you know all of your emotional triggers and or any and all of that stuff, which is personal journey, and you have the capacity to be here, and so it's not hard, it's your choosing at that point to say, okay, I know I can fall back on maladaptive patterns of behavior, inner critic, outer critic, drugging, drinking, fucking, this bunch of eating, binge eat. There's a bunch of shit that happens. It's very sad, but this is the part. Once a person has tended to their self, they care about becoming more of the best self, this is where they will know, of course I fall back, but that's why I have healthy self-worth people around me who allow me to fall back, because we're all flawed and imperfect, but allow us to grow and to remind what is life, what is love. It's life and love and health. So we consistently maintain the middle ground, as always. The middle is equanimity, calm and centered, with discernment, wise, good judgment. Only the teenagers, you can't eat meat. How dare you do this? You can't do that. You can't. And so whenever I see any of that, I do not engage. I just didn't think all these people would grow up like that. Now I know they're real. They need you. So adaptive child part people, they're just always going to be with this little brave heart. I shouldn't say always because they can choose to get out, but like that fancy lady, it's dangerous to have no emotions. That's how they feel when they're presented with the opportunity to be a whole new world, a magic place. You can be eustressed. Ew, you want me to have one emotion, Maria? It's actually called secure attachment on trauma. No, I don't do any of that. I'm doing it right here so that you can understand. And if you don't, it's okay. There's a Zen master for you with laundry, and you can go and have fun with the stories. That's the part. Every person has a role to play. No, every one of us has a choice to make, and it's not a must to be a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating higher self. You can be the version of yourself like my facade friend, and Cusco's don't know any different. And when I get into this tone, it's because they really don't. They lack the self-awareness, accountability, and regulation. You got fucking mustard on your chin. I'm not telling you something that's, I'm just saying. So people don't like a know-it-all. I ain't a know-it-all. I wish. I still have so many things to learn. Okay, back to our lovely chit-chat. The zebra brings with it an opening to your inner mind's world, and through your default mode network merges the left's black and white linear thinking with the right's nonlinear, conciliant, and that analogical, or whatever the word is, I forgot, rainbow-like thinking that sits well in the unknown and in the absence of words. So the right sits well in the absence of words. Okay, I need to fix some stuff in case you see any content. Remember, I'm not perfect at all and I will make mistakes. So actually, on that note, just so that I don't forget, let me do something here. Also, I had another word for that, which was the hawk. I'm going to fix that one, even though there might be some significance to it, but since I'm following the cards. Okay, back to us. Okay, so as we were saying, the lovely zebra brings with it an opening to your inner mind's world, and through your default mode network merges the left and its black and white linear thinking with the right and its nonlinear conciliant rainbow in the unknown capacity of thinking, basically by sitting in that which is unknown and no words. So it sits well in this space, kind of like those bubbles that they send people to. Okay, so in that moment of truth for you, you'll be able to sit within the depths of that which is sensations. And so, like panic attacks, I learned from Dr. Daniel Siegel that it's the freeze response. And yes, I'm a light worker, as you all know the term. Mystics, our spiritual bodies expand. So that's where my intuitive knowing as a mystic and spiritual being, I knew that that is part of a journey. I have a course that I was taking for that. And in fact, she shares, if you're a small person, you're going to build a window of welcome. No, you're going to have like a rubber band to expand how much energy you can store and hold. And obviously you block it by breathing, not breathing. So there's a number of things that take place as we expand our energy body. And I did light body, light body, light body, light body, rainbow body. Then I expanded some more. Now I'm really comfortable in it. So when it's happening, I still go a little wonky, but I don't have any of that, which is an overwhelm. The 4D, on the other hand, their third eyes are blocked. They keep thinking 4D is skipped. That's because they're Elsa on her journey and they don't care to integrate their brains. And yes, I have 4D mystic friends. So they continue to feel tragedies about to strike, to use our ancestors' cloak, wear them, use yesterday's news, fate, karma for tomorrow. And I'm thinking, you don't know that we get to choose what the future brings? You must not know about, you being able to be Dharma. But it's okay, because we're all having a good time, and really the asteroid, don't hit us, please. Okay, so with an integrated brain and a higher self, the swan's reflection gives you two sides to a coin from the mind that can further hold a third and a fourth and wrap itself around all the different concepts that come up. And like an earthworm that wraps itself up, you birth a rainbow crystal ball from all this contemplative inner growth, and for some accompanied with spiritual experiences. And then it's not done. Remember, I got more, so sit down and relax. The crow The crow sits upon your newfound wisdom. And if you remember, the crow is from another one of our lovely tarot oracle books that I have here, the Bearer of Truth, but it's New Truth, which is where we're at thanks to sciences and spirituality coming together. That's also why it's understandable that some people won't welcome it. It's too much information, too far removed. It all depends. There's a number of reasons why certain groups won't be in this place of inner knowing, outer knowing, and that they will feel just something. Cognitive dissonance is when your mind just can't capacitate it. So I can't capacitate to this day depth with numbers. I totally understand when I don't understand. I feel stupid. Yeah, am I now? Well, someone would say yes, but the point is, I know when I'm not able to embody knowledge, it drives me crazy. But I know my brain doesn't work. I can't make it work, meaning I've tried. So only if you meet someone who can speak it to you, because they figure out the way your brain mechanically works. Okay, so that's the part of where not everybody in cognitive dissonance will be accepting of anima mundi and truth the way we talk about it from discerning, equanimous, loving minds. The crow sits upon your newfound wisdom and speaks it into existence. Let me add again, because this will be shared at some point through pictures. New tales and wisdom are born in a story format that could be told with you being both an inner teacher and student. All that lies within you is brought forth with your core upheld in your functional inner child, adult's ventral vagal stance and tone. This gives you the posture of the cobra, who embodies both the gazelle and the lion's spirit, wisdom and strength, as you continue to walk a walk and talk a talk as yourself, mindfully, flawed, and integrity. Through your higher self-awareness of thoughts and emotions, being a part of the circle of life and relationships, you see your own hyena's humor, wit, and sarcasm for what it is, a protective mask that you are able to put down and replace with your higher self in the lead. Unmasked and as a healthy, self-worth, empowered, functional inner child adult, you choose to stand as you with authenticity and create a life in restorative embodiment through the power of self-awareness, accountability, and regulation skills that you hold as a human. And as the buffalo, you ground in pure presence and aliveness, and within your body, mind, heart, self, your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and more, run deeply with your complete awareness, accountability, curiosity, and participation. And this is what is beautiful about being a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person with my higher self, having detachment, trauma education to share. It's only me being me, but apparently it's not that straightforward for everyone. So it's a journey that you choose. Having the spiritual part doesn't make it more challenging, actually. You would think it would make it easier, but the spiritual bypassers get lost in those identities like any other teenager who stays insecure and doesn't choose to notice with their human name that they are beautiful just the way they are, because they have abandonment, rejection, and other wounds that are big and deep and that need a Patrick Tan or a Patrick Tan Terriel to learn to love themselves first and be their self. The real way, authenticity. Okay, so back to, again, our lovely channeled guidance food for thought. You explore all that comes up with the mind of the dolphin and metabolize every inch of thoughts, emotions, sensations, etc. with an open heart that unconsciously loves and understands flaws, imperfections, and integrity in life, relationships, and with oneself, experiencing life consciously. With the patience of the crocodile, you use your prefrontal cortex and evaluate everything with laser bat eyes and transmute it all to something new, something more, even for the unpleasant things brought about in life. Like the oyster with a grain of salt that irritates it, you too were able and are able to create a pearl and more of wisdom from irritating experiences, and as pearls of wisdom unfold into your higher self, you are enriched and expanded as more of yourself, more love, more consciousness. What you want to know about the oyster is that it doesn't make pearls often, and that when they're making the oyster have pearls, it's because the humans are doing it with whatever farming. But in the nature, the oyster is not the one of the shells that makes And the 5D collective, what I can say is that we don't get irritated to the point of where it's considered irritated. So it made sense when I got the oyster, because we're all flawed and imperfect. We all can irritate each other, okay? So creating pearls of wisdom out of irritation to me means, I have a book that I bought when I was a teen or a young adult, I forget. And it's Why Are People So Stupid? So we all can get irritated of each other. The point is, it's just people with different ideas and thoughts. I never thought I'd be growing up and then meet grown-ups in a world where there's all these people with charges, but then I think, social media's just made them louder, meaning I get to see all of them. It doesn't mean it's made more of them. No, it's just made them louder, and they come together like-minded people. So when I see groups and trending topics, walk like me, talk like me, and there's nothing impressive. I met them as a teenager. So for the insecure person, they need a group. For the ones of us who are self-agents, we like to be with those who are intellectually, emotionally, physically smart, and that means that we have healthy self-worth. So we don't say you're trauma dumping. We don't weaponize words. People who use words that way are the same as teenagers who use a sword. It's a left brain alone, because that's the only time you're going to be using words in a way that makes no sense except for, what are you doing? And that's how my brain is interpreting it to you. So like a cheetah, you integrate the newfound inner knowings that have arisen from your spiritual and personal development experiences. You integrate all of it within your day-to-day life and relationships, and like a raccoon, you move forward with this updated self-image version of you and new set of skills and talents. This happens seamlessly, like a butterfly. You know your transformation is complete, at least for now. The other thing about the 5D collective is we don't suffer this transformation, and that's why I'm trying to chime in as we continue, because if it resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, it's not good or bad. Just the 5D collective doesn't suffer emotions, doesn't suffer the transformative process. But I heard a description of the transformation of the butterfly, and the person who gave it obviously had huge trauma charges in their body, because my transformation has never been in that way. You know, the only time I heard that description was when somebody was describing me how they felt about themselves, and it was teeth being pulled out of their skull, and it was really sad. And this same human being disregards to this day to go get themselves some therapy. So when I hear people feeling disgusted about themselves, I just think Bethany and Ruth Lanius let me know that people won't go to them, and people continue to confirm, like Patrick Tian confirms with me too, cowards, Maria. And I say, hey, Patrick, and then God tells me not to judge human suffering, but I'm going to share it here, because again, the transformation of the butterfly at IHP ain't suffering. And if there is suffering, then that's for Patrick Tian, Terry, and a good therapist to work with you so you can get out of it first, learn to harness your prefrontal, learn to taste your ventral energy, and then you can make a conscious choice. I still prefer to be in my visceral, to do inner critic, outer critic, and to do this. At least you're making a conscious choice with the technical information, versus when somebody goes to Nutshell Lady, telling us that we have to put up with it. She's giving you the ways to work with a panic attack. I was grateful the moment I got Nutshell Lady. I was like, thank goodness somebody explained it to me. Okay, I already knew what was happening. Now I know how to work with it even more. So every piece of sciences that I learned from my own embodied experience was supporting me to walk myself through something, as I was still using my higher self again. I didn't need any extra support. That doesn't mean I didn't want it, but I knew how to recalibrate, and in fact, I do it better by myself when I'm with people who judge my panic attacks as something stupid, not because they want to be mean, no, because they don't get it. They'll never get it unless they have it. And then when they have it, like I've been told that I must have some issue with love with my twin flame and flames, and that was one thing that made me really laugh in my butthole once they got their own twin flame. Now I understand you. So when someone doesn't have the subjective capacity to notice, I am making my actual emotional experience trump some other person. Yes, we don't have a higher self in the lead. So when someone describes to me their butterfly journey as suffering and makes it sound like everybody, no, not every one of us lives that life. I feel bad for every person who has that suffering. Again, people who don't go to Patrick Tihan, I'm told to mind my own business with suffering, but don't describe to me then that this journey of life has to be consistently like teeth being pulled because you're disregarding information that's going to be helpful. And that's actually part of the addictive pattern of those who are in their poisonous, visceral. So it's not something that is beautiful. It's something that they're used to, and it's something, though, that is explainable. And as we keep moving forward, again, welcoming all people for sure. But let us just know that choices are straightforward. When there's suffering of emotions and thoughts, the first step is to be able to work to get soft, and then you're ready for mindfulness, mindset, and mindset. Mindset can be great for those who still don't have the depths of them available, but mindfulness mindset is when you're ready for it, to be able to regulate in the ventral energy, and you like it and you want it, and so you're looking to do the healthy self-worth and self-soothing and self-regulating. And so like a frog, you jump around with excitement at what's to come next, knowing that transformation and self-care go hand in hand and bring forth more of the butterfly's type of transformation, but also the elephant's wisdom and its protective wide tusk, a tusk that cherishes and keeps safe every cosmic egg of wisdom and knowledge that has been born from you and will be born from you in the present and the future, born from your body, your mind, your heart, yourself in harmony as a mystic, spiritual, and or mindful person. The snake, well, here's the cosmic egg, forgot to show that one, which also was in our previous channeled guidance food for thought, one of the ones. You can look up the title, I forget it. Okay, so here's the snake. The snake is the guardian of our highest potential, creative life force, and the spider, creator of prosperity through life's work, which is Dharma, and the 5D collective does Dharma. So the snake and the spider work together to blend the rainbow of colors that are brought forth from you, being yourself mindfully in a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, and regulating state, thanks to your conscious choosing. They also protect and preserve all that is yet to be awakened and brought forth from within you as your infinite higher human conscious potential experience in life continue to unfold for as long as you have breath and awaken the next day and morning. Be you, mindful and flawed with integrity. Welcome aboard to all of those of you who are here. It is an honor to be here with you and to talk about this beautiful journey. And we'll just review as we close on out the wisdom of the scorpion as well. These are from our past. And with the fox, if you remember, the fox is empowered counterparts and smarts. The hummingbird that can take you very far. And our golden eggs, our lovely fireflies that can then shed a light and transform that which is thought and emotion, like the dragonfly, to then rise like the phoenix from the ashes, with an ego that, like a peacock, but an empowered mind and ego, will shine and in fact bring more of that which is, for those of us of spirit wisdom, for those of science, again, expansion of consciousness means intellect, emotional, mental, physical, smart human beings. They can be entrepreneurs, engineers, there's a lot of them. Like the stingray, those lovely centers are chakra centers. They light up. You have the expansion of your light body. You can be vulnerable like a deer and welcoming, but strong like a panther, who then carries, like the wolf, to more the message of that which can soar like an eagle and be quick like that lovely little rabbit, and swift and like a beaver can build a house, right, in a dam, and be unique as the unicorn and as every person, which is every one of you, the lamb. So this is one of those lovely heartfelt. I have no words for this one right now. I'm just going to close it up. And here we get to bring some more wisdom from the black egg, like the busy bees who get to work and buzz around the vultures who make use of dead carcasses. So, I mean, at least nothing goes wasted, right? And then the lizard comes out of nowhere and gets to bask in the sun. And our lovely shark as well. So while people will give negative connotations to some of animals and some of anything, negative connotations without constructive expansion of them serves nothing. Also, every single one of the low frequencies can have any of these animals basically be in imbalance. So if you're a balanced person, you will consistently expand from every single one of the aspects that's presented. A shark and again a lizard and or a vulture and or a bee. And it's the way that you look and feel life and think of life that will dominate. And so if the emotions are not something you can yet explore with the elixir of eustress and the ventral vagal state, that's why thoughts and emotions would be still hard. But as you navigate personality patterns, temperament, and your body, and you get to that securely attached and traumatized self, you're going to be able to share the experience of life from where at least I'm bringing to you how easy it is to be your true self with others and not be afraid. We'll be back with more again. Thanks for stopping by.